Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Catherine Smith. I serve as Associate Dean at Duke Divinity School for Strategic Initiatives, and we are delighted that you're here today. It's lovely to see some new and some familiar faces joining us in this group. We know it's also your lunch hour, so hopefully you're munching and drinking and taking care of whatever needs you have during this time. Let me just say a few words to get us started. Today's session is intended to introduce you to church administration, theology, and time management, a brand new course offered by Duke Divinity School through Divinity Plus, which is a new platform we're delighted to announce as an online learning space for Duke alumni and for other practitioners. We hope that in the months to come, you will visit the Divinity Plus website, which we'll be posting at the end of today's session, to explore other courses that may be of interest to you. Today's session is being recorded. So following today's event, we will caption the recording for accessibility purposes, and then we'll be sure to send it out to all those who have registered for the event via email. So a brief overview of what to expect from today. In a few minutes, I'll introduce Dr. Ray Cho, who's the course instructor, and he will provide an overview of this course as well as the church administration series. After his presentation, we'll have some time to address your questions. To do that today, we're going to be utilizing the Q&A feature in Zoom. So if you look to the bottom of your screen, you should see a button that reads Q&A. If you click that button, a panel should appear on the right hand of your screen where you can type questions you might have. Please feel free to drop those in during the course of today's session. We have some colleagues, members of our team, who are moderating questions as they come up in the Q&A. And some questions we'll also have a chance to address out loud at the end of our session. You also have the ability to upvote questions. So if you see something that reinforces a question that you also have or one you'd really like to see us address live, go ahead and click that upvote button in your Q&A, and that'll bring those questions to the top of our list to address. I want to introduce you to one other fabulous colleague who you may see showing up on screen today. Quentin Ruiz-Esparza helps to oversee Duke Learning Innovation's online Duke team. I'm very grateful to Quentin as our resident Coursera expert and to the entire Learning Innovation team for helping to make today's event possible. So Quentin, I'll invite you to turn on your camera for a moment and wave to everyone so that they can see you, and look forward to getting to greet you later on in today's session. Thanks, Quentin. It's my joy now to introduce you to our colleague and friend, Dr. Ray Cho, who's the instructor for this course. Dr. Cho is a visiting assistant professor at Duke Divinity School. He received his PhD and MDiv degrees from the Divinity School. He also holds an MBA from Stanford Graduate School of Business and an MS and BS degree from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Dr. Cho teaches courses at Duke in the areas of theology and practice of Christian leadership and administration and Asian American theology. We are delighted that he has now developed this course to be available to you. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Cho and say welcome again.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this info session. It means that you're interested in and care about church admin, and you're definitely not alone. Let me pull up my presentation here. Let me share 1 second. Share screen. Can you see that? Can everyone see the presentation? Okay, great. So anyway, so it means that you're interested and care about church admin, and you're definitely not alone. In 2020, the Association of Theological Schools conducted a survey asking alums what was not offered, but you wish you could have learned in seminary or theological school. And guess what finished at the very top of that list? Administration. And we've heard this time and time again with our own Duke alums. To address this long-standing neglect, we are offering Duke Divinity Plus courses on church admin, starting with this class. which are based on courses I've been teaching at Duke Divinity School to our master students. With our church admin series, the overarching question we are addressing is the question of what do theology and management have to do with church admin? Again, what do theology and management have to do with church admin? On the one hand, shouldn't theology matter in church administration? But if so, how so specifically? On the other hand, shouldn't church admin benefit by tapping into a wealth of management material out there? But then how do we do that without risking turning the church into a secular enterprise? I certainly have these questions and concerns, as I'm sure many of you do as well, and rightly so. So we designed the church admin series to equip you to take a theologically robust approach to combining theology and management in such a way as to help your church become a more faithful church for the glory of God and God's kingdom. Now, toward this goal, I want to contrast our Divinity Plus's distinctive approach with two popular approaches to church admin out there. One is what I would call a management-driven approach, which subsumes church admin under management principles and techniques. So, for instance, how to do church budgeting using best-in-class management principles and practices for budgeting that would be for any organization. Another approach is what I would call a conceptually driven approach, which just stays at the theoretical and conceptual level and addresses very little in the way of actual concrete church admin practices. So maybe some theology of money or theories of church finance, but nothing concrete on how to do actual church budgeting itself. In contrast, we will take a theologically driven approach to concrete practices in church admin. By this, I mean, we'll first establish a theology of church admin and then align concrete church admin practices accordingly, drawing on management excellence and know-how as appropriate. So for instance, our theological approach will address how we are to be formed as disciples and faithfully witness to Jesus through the very concrete practice of church budgeting. Now, of course, we'll have to, and we will unpack much more what this theological approach means specific to key church admin topics covered in each of our church admin courses. In terms of the 4 courses in our Duke Divinity Plus Church Administration series offering, the first is this class, Church Administration Theology and Time Management, about which I will say more shortly. Second is a class on strategic management for churches. So it'll cover topics such as church vision, mission, goals, objectives, measures, core values, culture, etc., which will launch this summer. These 2 classes are the foundational core courses for the series. Then we will have a course on human resource management for churches in the fall of this year. And finally, a course on financial management in the spring of next year. We will offer Duke Divinity Plus certification on the church admin series if you take and pass the first 2 foundational courses plus 1 or more of the elective classes, which are the 3rd and the 4th course. But of course, we welcome you and encourage you to take all 4 classes. Now, let's take a closer look at the first class, Church Administration Theology and Time Management. Now, this course comprises of 4 weeks broken into 2 major parts, 2 weeks each. The first half of the course, so weeks 1 and 2, will be devoted to developing a theology of church admin. In week 1, we will begin by delineating the courses, indeed, the entire series' overall theological approach. Then, for the remainder of week 1, we will further develop a theology of church admin by drawing on Christian ethics to unpack what it means to approach church admin as church practices. Or said another way, unpack how ecclesiology matters for church admin. So how does church in church practice matter for church admin? In week 2, we will examine why church admin should be a critical pastoral priority for you. This is a question of how pastoral leadership and pastoral theology ought to matter for church admin. An important assignment for week 2 will be for you to identify your key pastoral priorities and how church admin fits in. So weeks 1 and 2 will examine church admin as church practices and church admin as pastoral leadership, or put another way, examine how ecclesiology and pastoral theology ought to matter for church admin. After establishing a theological foundation in the first 2 weeks, we will then turn to a concrete application of time management, or what we're calling time stewardship, in part 2, or weeks 3 and 4. Now, why time management? One, as many of you know only too well, time management is a huge ongoing challenge for pastors and lay leaders alike. So addressing time management is intended to be of much needed help to you. 2, how we spend time is a theological matter, a matter of discipleship. So we will unpack a theology of time stewardship as distinct from time management, which recognizes the need for our faithful stewardship of God's gift of time to us. 3, time stewardship requires your intentional scheduling in of church admin along with your other pastoral priorities that we will have you identify in week 2. And to help you become a better steward of your time, in week 3, we will be giving you assignments on recording and analyzing how you actually spend your time, as well as an assignment to discern a time stewardship plan that will help you keep to your stewardship priorities, including that for church admin. Without such a time stewardship plan, church admin as a priority is likely to fall by the wayside. Lastly, we designed the first course to set you up for success with the other 3 classes we will be offering in our church admin series, both in terms of your having a robust theological approach to church admin and an effective time stewardship to help you prioritize and free up the needed time for learning and implementing the course material. So in week 4, now the final week, we will continue with time stewardship by addressing 3 major areas of how-tos, namely how to say no to non-priorities, how to delegate, and how to run meetings. In particular, as many of you have experienced, meetings are generally too many and too poorly managed in many organizations, including and perhaps especially in churches. We would distinguish between meeting management versus meeting stewardship and examine what meeting stewardship looks like. Lastly, in week 4, I will conclude with a course summary and key course takeaways. Now, one of the compelling reasons why we chose the Coursera format is their platform focus on concrete learning objectives. So by the end of the course, in terms of learning objectives, you will be able to explain why church administration must be approached from a theological perspective, elucidate how Christian ethics and pastoral leadership or pastoral theology inform a theology and practice of church admin, distinguish between time management versus time stewardship and the theology of it, evaluate your time management practices, how you actually spend your time, and develop a time stewardship plan. And lastly, distinguish between meeting management and meeting stewardship. Now, each week is designed to require about 4 to 4.5 hours of your time, or about roughly 16 to 17 hours total for the entire course. And for each week, we have the following 8 course elements to facilitate your learning. Now, in the interest of time, I will not go over these in detail, and I can certainly do so in the Q&A session. However, I will highlight a few things. One, I want to highlight again the course design centered on learning objectives. 2, we built in ways for you to reflect, discern, discuss, and interact. 3, the assignments, some of which I covered, are designed to be practical and useful for you and your church admin. And lastly, we're providing a downloadable workbook for you to capture major learnings and engagement from the course. Okay, so audit and pay enrollment options. Can I ask Quentin to chime in here for this slide?
Sure. So folks, for this course, there are mainly 2 enrollment options for you to consider. And I'm sort of working from left to right, but there on the left, you have the audit option, where all of the course content is available for free. So you're able to enroll as an auditing learner and access all the videos, readings, discussions, and workbook activities. If you would like to earn the course certificate, that you would have to pay for. However, Coursera also provides a financial aid option if for some reason you're not able to pay. However, also for Coursera, for Duke alumni, people with a Duke degree, we're able to offer these courses completely for free with the certificate through the Coursera for Duke alumni portal, which there's a link to that here, and we can provide that via email after the session. But feel free to pop questions in the chat if you have questions about the enrollment options.
Like Quentin. So as a way of wrapping up before moving into our Q&A session, I want to thank you on behalf of our team for your presence and your interest. I believe you're here because something inside you, and I would like to think perhaps the Holy Spirit, has convicted you of the importance of church admin and has prompted you to learn more about it. I want to very much affirm your interest by saying I firmly and passionately believe that church admin is vitally important for your church and for your pastoral leadership. Church admin should be thought of not just as an enabler of ministry, but itself God-given, Christ-centered ministry. Church admin should be, in the end, about our discipleship, our formation, our witness, our worship of God, and not simply a matter of organizational know-how and practices. My deep conviction is that teaching about church admin is my ministry, is my service to the church. So I consider it a deep privilege to offer this class to you as a way of my and Duke Divinity Plus's partnering with you in your church ministry. And my prayer for you is that you will spend some time with God to discern how you can best learn and work on your church admin going forward, whether through the course that we're offering or through whatever other means. And I hope our info session will be of help in your discernment process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ray. We really appreciate that. That is a great jumpstart for our session today. And I see that some of you, thanks so much to those of you that are posting questions in the chat. Our wonderful team from Duke Learning Innovation is helping to respond to those. So keep tabs on both the open question one and also questions that have already gotten responses. Sometimes some of the questions might be answered there. Let me comment briefly before we move into it fully into our Q&A process. Two things that I'm hearing come up that might be helpful to know. Just to affirm that this course is entirely self-paced. So while we use the language of weeks for the course, this isn't designed for you to do at your own pace online via Coursera. So there's no live synchronous component to the way this course is developed. That means that you can do it as your schedule allows. So we know that if you're working, you're juggling multiple commitments, that you're trying to figure out when you would fit something like this in. And the goal is for you to be able to do it as your time allows. So there is no, if you don't get through a full week's content in that week, pick up on it and keep going in the next week. Your time can be distributed on your own. It's intended for those who try to stay on a regular week pacing to have a sense of what the expectations are for each module. So we hope that you'll make time to enroll as your schedule permits. The second thing I'll say is that some of you have asked about the possibility of continuing education units for this course. We are anticipating offering 1.5 CEUs for those who need it for professional or ministerial education purposes. That pathway will be initiated by you sending to our team the certificate of completion for the course. So if you are planning, if you would like to try to earn CEUs for this series, you will need to take the full enrollment option. You won't be able to use the audit option for that because we need to be able to demonstrate that you've completed the course and that you've completed the assessment exercises that are attached to it. So let me transition gears there to a little bit of our Q&A time. I am seeing some questions about the pacing of the certificate. Those courses are going to be released over time, as Ray mentioned. And those of you who have signed up for this information session or who register for the first course, we'll make sure that you also get information about the subsequent courses as they become available to you. Let me look now at, I'm seeing some questions about this as a free certificate program. Again, our expectation for those of you that are Duke University alumni, Duke University has very graciously partnered with Coursera to try to make sure that courses are available to you as an alum. We anticipate that continuing. So those of you that are graduating in spring 2023, if you demonstrate that you've completed the sequence in that time as an alum, then yes, we are certainly happy to honor the completion of it as a certificate. Let me just pause there and give everyone an opportunity. A reminder, if you have questions, post those in the Q&A function in Zoom, which you can find at the bottom of your screen. And I'm seeing a couple of questions on seeing the course listing on Coursera. Quentin, would you be willing to pop in and just help remind people about how they would sign up for the course on the Coursera website?
Sure. So for the public option or the alumni option or both?
I think for both would be helpful.
Sure. So for the public option, I can share my screen here. Just pull up the link. So when you go to the public website for the course, just pulling up the link. Right window. I have trouble finding the right window. Let's try this again. Let's have to try another tab. There we go. All right. And of course, I'm having some internet issues here. Try it again.
And if it's not Quinn, if you've got connection issues, we can also make sure that we drop that information in the follow-up email that goes out to everybody.
When you go to the public course page, which is linked on the Divinity Plus website, you'll see a button to enroll on the left-hand side. And it will prompt you to create a Coursera account so that you'd be able to see the enrollment options. But from that enrollment page, you'll see that there's really two options there. There's the option to pay for the course or to audit the course. And so that sort of gives you those two payment options right up front. For Duke degree alums, you'll see in the chat, I've linked a couple of times a link to the Coursera for Duke alumni portal. That's a separate portal for accessing the course than the public version of the course. And you will need a Duke OneLink account to be able to access it as an alum. There from the portal page that I've linked to, there's a link there that will take you to create a OneLink if you don't already have one. And if you run into any challenges with that, you can just contact us at Duke Learning Innovation and we'll be able to get you. So yeah, if you scroll down right there, access for Duke alums. So there's the link there for creating the OneLink, and then you would just use that OneLink to log into Coursera for Duke alumni, that button there in the middle of the screen.
Thank you, Quentin, and thank you, Karen, for the link on the slides.
Thank you.
I am seeing a question come up about what's required for the certificate. So just a reminder, the certification process would include completing the 2 core courses, courses 1 and 2, and then at least one of the elective courses, either the HR module or the finance module. We encourage you to complete all of them, but there are 3 courses required in the certification process. I'm also seeing great encouragement about opportunities to gain exposure to what church administration looks like in practice, I would say in both large and small congregations. One thing I would say for those of you who might also work within a larger denominational structure, Duke Divinity School is in conversation with some denominational partners about creating versions of the course that could be built in partnership with your denomination or tradition. So if you're in a United Methodist annual conference, for example, and you'd be interested in journeying through a curriculum like this with other leaders in your conference, we would love to be in conversation with you about how to help support that process. We do have some denominational teams that are building cohorts to go through this learning process together so that people can do the course itself self-paced, but participate in discussions that they develop or conversations with members of their team, either within their congregation or within their annual conference or jurisdiction. And that's also something really, really encouraged, so that you're not only having individual reflection, but you're doing this within a team to try to increase the impact and efficacy of the work. Just checking to see any other questions that are coming up. I encourage you to look at the list of questions that have already been answered for this. Great. So let me say one last word, which is the Divinity Plus team will be monitoring an email address that is divinityonline@duke.edu. And I might ask one of our DLI members if you can drop that in the Q&A too. That is the general email address for all Divinity Plus courses. So if you have questions that come up as a learner that are specific to the course offerings that the Divinity School is providing, that's the email address you'd like to use. Questions that are technical, that are related to Coursera specific elements, you can also go through Coursera's technical help process once you're registered for the course. I'm going to give you all just about 30 more seconds. If there are any other questions that you haven't had a chance to post yet and you'd like to address, to one of the questions in our Q&A, yes, we will make the link to this presentation available and can also include in the email to all of you the links to register in the different categories that were provided. Appreciate that. I also thank you to those of you who gave some recommendations or ideas for things which we might want to incorporate into future versions of courses. Again, we have some denominational partners that would like to build customized units that are specific to their context. It may also be the case that there are learning communities that have particular emphases and interests, and we are happy to be in conversation with you as we seek to strengthen and improve the kinds of courses that we offer for the future. So with that in mind, let me offer my great thanks to Dr. Cho for his leadership of this course and for leading today's session. I also want to offer special thanks to Duke Learning Innovation Team and to Duke's Office of Information Technology, who have helped to support the development of this course and many other courses through Divinity Plus. We are so grateful for you. And want to encourage you, especially Duke alumni, to be signing up for Coursera for Duke. We encourage you to go to the Divinity Plus website to sign up to be notified when the second course launches in this series. If you haven't yet signed up for our mailing list, we encourage you to do that so that we can be letting you know as new courses are launched. Many of you have asked about sharing this with other churches, pastors, ministry leaders, members of your team. We really encourage you to do that. We are also happy to be conversation partners with you as you seek to journey through this curriculum together. Thank you so much for being here. We hope it is a blessed end of Lent for you as we enter this season of Holy Week approaching, and we look forward to seeing you in this and in future Divinity Plus courses. Have a great afternoon.